Folks have come up with this thing called the open key notation, which uses lowercases m and d. So all of the major keys have a letter D, which is German for Dur, I think, which is the German word for major key. And lowercase m, Moll, I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but it's a German notation for a minor key. You also notice that all of these notes are rotated from each other. So starting from here, if I use capital letters for all of the major keys and lowercase letters for all of the minor keys, you just rotate this around a little bit. You end up with, A minor gets paired up with C major. But you notice I didn't actually write it in the same orientation, right? I've actually rotated the whole thing over here. So now everything lines up. We've got C major, we've got G major, we've got D major. I guess I flipped the insides and the outsides. But they're really two rings on top of each other. So, and you can see there's A minor over here, there's E minor, and there's D minor. And this is called the Camelot wheel. Again, primarily promoted by the developers of mixed in key. However, instead of using lowercase notation for the major and minor keys, they use the numbers around the clock, and then they put capital A for minor keys, because the majority of dance music is in minor key. So they use A, 12A, 1A, 2A to describe the minor keys, and they use 1B, 2B, 3B, 4B for major keys. If you look at my record box screen, that's what this stands for over here. So the nice thing about it is if I just want to go around the circle, it's been sorted out for me. 1A goes to 2A or goes to 12A. I can think about this as if I was reading a clock. It's 1 o'clock. What's 1 hour before 1 o'clock? What's 1 hour after 1 o'clock? And if I wanted to hop from one circle to another, I just flip the A and B, and it becomes very, very easy. I don't really have to think about it. In Rekordbox, you can change the notation. I'm pretty sure you have this option in Serato as well. I think you go into View, and you have to scroll a bit. Let me see. Key display format. The Camelot notation, Camelot being, I think, a trademark word for this notation. They just call it alphanumeric. And then there's Classic. If I switch to Classic, you'll actually see these key names right there, just like I had written over there. It's the same thing. One is equal to the other. One is slightly easier to read when you're DJing. However, this is not the only way that you can change keys. This is one way that you can change keys, and sort of mathematically and probabilistically the most likely way that you can play two keys on top of each other and still make it sound good. A minor and C literally use the same notes, they just start from different places. E minor and D minor use almost all of the same notes as A minor. That's just one note that's different. One of these notes is just shifted over by a semitone. And so probabilistically it will work, but it's not the only way to go from one key to another. Something that could be very, very easy is just go from a major key to the same key but in minor. So say I'm playing a G song, and I go to a G minor song. They're going to have the same bass line for the most part. Say you've got a song that's in C major, and then it's got a bass line that goes, and then you mix that into a song that goes to C minor. It's still the same bass line, right? As long as you don't hit that middle note, that's where the change in sort of the quality of the scale manifests. But even if you were playing a song that went like this, makes musical sense. It actually sounds kind of cool, and it's like, all right, we're getting serious now. The other thing that you can do is modulate. You can sing the same thing, you can play the same thing, just a little bit higher, right? Let me see if I can find Love on Top, because this is a really obvious. Yeah. So this song starts in C, That's the C chord, right? That's what this song is in. People familiar with this song? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to skip forward to where she sings the hook, all right? She's still in C. She's a semitone higher. She's went from to. She's singing D flat. She went up again, right? So it went from C, it went to D flat. So this is C. It goes to D flat, then it goes to D, then it goes to E flat by the end. She keeps going up. But there's no reason why you couldn't do that with your own mixing. You could just slowly creep up in pitch. As long as they're going up semitone each time, you're keeping the tempo, the genres similarly. And I don't know about you, but when I hear every time she modulates up a semitone, it feels like there's a little more energy in there. Probably because she's actually putting more energy into the song, because you have to actually exert more energy to hit those notes. And you can do that too with your mixing. That's why if you look at my screen, I have both the numeric and the letters there. Because it's difficult to figure out from these numbers what half a semitone is. But going from A to B flat, or A to B, or B to C, or B to C flat, is a little bit easier for me in my mind. It's like having those actual traditional notations in there. But these keys do not work played on top of each other. You have to do a hard transition. You can't blend them. You have to go like 1, 2. You got to let people know that you just went up a key. It doesn't work so well going down. It's not to say that it's impossible. You can make it work again. If it sounds good in your headphones, you can try it. And if you practice it and it sounds good, you should absolutely use that in your sets. It's difficult to go down. It's much easier to go around backwards around this circle of fifths. And especially if you're playing a lot of songs in minor keys, or you're playing sort of particularly moody genres like house music, for instance, going backwards, going to a circle of fourths instead of a circle of fifths, actually works really, really well. You don't need to stick to this T shape. If, say, you are B flat minor, God help us, that's a tough key to work with. But say you're over there, they argue that you should be able to go to anywhere in this sector pretty reasonably. Because the difference between B flat minor and E flat minor, or B flat minor and F minor, is just one note. But the difference between D flat and B flat minor is nothing. They use the same notes. They just start from a different place on the keyboard, but they use exactly the same notes. So theoretically, going across this way or going backwards should work. Probabilistically, again, the notes should line up. This is definitely one of those things you listen into your headphones first before you let the audience hear it. So let me try that. All right, so this is 2B. 1, 2. That's G flat. And we're going to either go to 1A or we're going to go to 3A. Let's say I've got a 123 BPM here. Let's try 3A. I don't think it's going to work. The BPMs are just wrong. Let's try that. I don't think this is going to work, but I'm going to let you hear what it sounds like anyway, all right? In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bass out, so it's just the vocal, all right? I'm waiting for the beat. I don't think that quite works. It's not terrible. Iffy. Now, this song, so knowing that doesn't quite work, I was hearing that on my headphones, it doesn't quite work. I'm going to just do this transition differently. There's no bass line. There's a little bit of whistling in there, a little organ. That works. That works, right? So again, because it didn't quite sound great in my headphones, you make it a much more hard transition. You don't make it like such a blend. I did blend a little bit. I let that organ sort of peek through, but it's so quiet that it didn't make a huge difference. Just as an example of a song that's very complicated because they actually changed the mode. They actually changed the intervals between different parts of the song. It hasn't changed key, it has changed modes. Very slightly. It's doing the power chord thing actually. Something weird's happening here on this song. And then goes back to where it started. So I'm using RGB mode, which is a preference that you can set in Rekordbox. Red represents bass frequencies, and blue represents high frequencies like hi-hats and treble. So green is kind of where the vocals live. So if you think about it as an electromagnetic spectrum, like colors of rainbow, right? Red, long wavelength, low frequency light, and blue is high frequency, short wavelength light, similar to sound. Now that makes sense to me, because I understand wavelengths of light, but for a lot of people that is a little bit confusing. There's other preferences that you can switch. You can switch this to a blue format where it's just intensities, I guess.
Might be for people who are red-green color blind.
That actually will make a lot of sense. Yeah. They've also got this one, which is kind of like white, orange, and blue. And again, they're actually they're trying to separate the bass frequencies from the high frequencies. I think the white is the high frequencies. And the blue's got to be bass. Either it's the bass guitar or it's the kick drum. And the orange is the vocals. So that's the 3-band view. I think Rekordbox now defaults to that. But that's a fairly new mode. I started with Rekordbox back when it was RGB, and I can read this. This sort of says, I know there's a kick drum or a bass here. I know there's something high frequency going on here. Okay, it's actually a hi-hat. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's the basics of key mixing. When you analyze a track, you can check this, and then Rekordbox will make a guess. Now, none of the pieces of software, not even Mixed in Key, which is all about key analysis, gets it 100% right. But you put a bunch of human musicians together in the same room, you play them the same song, and someone's going to disagree. That's not the right key. I think we can cut computers a little slack here, not getting everything 100% right, because even humans will disagree. And you can see it analyzed it, and it called it 11A. Mixed in Key thinks it's G flat minor, which is also 11As. Oh, wrong song. That's the G flat minor. So what I'm going to do is go from G flat minor to A major, all right? Let's see how well that works. So I'm going from G flat minor to A, right here. You can hear the root note is different, but they're using all the same notes. So that's hopping from the minor to the major. Now I'm going to do two songs that actually have the same key. So a major to major, same note. Is this song still popular? I don't know. Can I get away with playing this? Yeah? Okay.
Very last song they played for the night was this one.
Wait, which party?
The president's like.
Oh, really? Okay, all right. They had a big dance party. It's a good sing-along. Yeah. But really sad. Why would they end up? I guess it was his farewell party. So yeah.
No, they were playing an EDM remix, so it was very like.
Yeah. No, I mean it's high energy, but the lyrics are really sad.
It's an end of night sound.
Like I hesitate playing this because it's because of the meaning of the song, but I know people are familiar with it. So we'll be getting into EDM on Monday. Okay, all right. I should probably cut that a little bit sooner, but these are both songs in the same key, exactly the same key. So even though they are playing a different progression of notes, they're all using the same notes, and even the same bass note. And we'll revisit this when we get to acapellas and mashups later on. Because if you haven't analyzed your music, you don't know what key your song is in, it's going to be really, really hard to do a mashup. Unless you're doing rap on top of any musical thing. That tends to work. Because there's no musical pitch in there. Yeah?
How important then is key into all of this? Like, is it a third decision factor? It's an important decision factor.
Like BPM and genre, right? Those are kind of like super big important things. Energy level is kind of related to genre, but that happens within genre. Within the same genre, you have a lot of different energy levels. Those are by far the most important thing, right? Key is, we are getting to second, third priority at this point. It's only useful if you really want to do blends of music on top of music, right?
It's like do like long intros and outros.
Long intros, long outros, and your music has harmonic stuff in those intros. If it's all just beats, you don't have to care about any of this. You know, if you're playing like 1990s house, you've got like 64 bars of nothing but beats to mix things in. It's like you don't have to care what keys your songs are in at that point.
Do you consider the belt to have harmonic?
Yes, very much. I mean, a lot of dead mouse stuff actually does. So you've got the chords in the background first. What is this, A?
The piano.
Yeah. Yeah, that synth plug. It sounds like a piano a bit, but it's a synthesizer, yeah. Anything that's a chord, anything that's not just percussion. Does it get more basic than this, right? How many bars do I have with this? 16 bars. No, yeah, 16 bars. Yeah. Now we got one chord, but it's just like one chord. It's the space between it. Okay, we just landed home. This is C.
But this is not melodic.
It is, but it's so faint that you can still make stuff in. Like if you compare it to this,
That's probably.
yeah, you got that C note. It's two notes. And just with those two notes, you know it's C minor, because that's the third, and the third sounds like this, and it doesn't sound like that. By the way, you might have noticed Rekordbox is doing this handy thing of like whatever song I currently have as master is showing me all of the keys that are adjacent to it in green. They call it the traffic light system. I forget how you turn it on. I'm sure it's in preferences somewhere where there's a checkbox that you have to turn on. Look for traffic light. Remember, it's showing what's matching up with whatever you've got marked as master. All right? But again, it's not the only way that you can transition. It's actually a clue when you look at your playlist. So it's like, I didn't think these two songs will go together, but they're the same BPM and they're the same key. Let's try it. And that's how I like to use it, not as a way to restrict what you can do, but a way of suggesting new things you can do.
Yeah, I also feel like for some genres it might be a little different.
In fact, it can be really useful to go from between genres if you can maintain the tempo and the key. And then you switch to another song that's a completely different genre. You know, I'm going from EDM to salsa. They're both 120 something BPM, and if I can find two songs that are in the same key, I can sort of do a little mashup. Yeah. So you hear the intro of the salsa song with an EDM beat underneath it, and then you go completely to salsa. Take a look at the keys in your music, see whether you can figure them out, and let me know next Monday how that goes. All right? This is a fire hose of information over here, but I hope that people got something out of it.